Monday, March 18th, 2019, Maneco 64, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This morning I want to talk about how you can avoid financing Wall Street, financing the military industrial complex, the big corporations, and protect yourself, your family from the fraudulent fiat money system. And I'll show you why it's fraudulent, in my opinion. Before that, of course, I'll have a look at what the markets are doing this morning. It's just gone past 7:30 a.m. London. So let's see what we're doing. We've got spot gold up just under $1 at 1303. The range has been 1298 to 1304.25. Silver 1532 up 3 cents. The range has been 1522 to 1536. So a little firmer, the precious metals, but not doing much. The Dow is up 28 points. Dow futures 25,877, up 0.1%. Technical picture, longer term, still looking not great for the stock markets. Looking at the charts, weekly, monthly charts, still looks like we're forming a huge top that started last year, I would say, 2018. S&P is up just under 5 points at 28.27. The NASDAQ 100 future is up 20 at 73.25. The pound is down 12 pips, so pretty much unchanged, I would say, 132.80. Euro 113.41, up just about 0.2%. The dollar is up dollar is up marginally against the yen, 111.55, and the dollar is basically unchanged against the yuan at 671.40. WTI crude unchanged as well, 58.73, and Brent 67. Brent is at 67.15. So markets are fairly quiet this morning, I would say. The bond market, let's have a look. Also pretty much unchanged. 10-year yield is at 260, and the curve is becoming more and more inverted. For example, the 6-month bill is at 251. While the 7-year yield for the Treasury 7-year note is at 2.5. So it's inverted from 6 months to 7 years. So that's not a great sign, as I've said before, for the U.S. economy. This week, of course, we're going to have the FOMC meeting. It's a 2-day meeting. Starts tomorrow, and then they announce on Wednesday at 2 p.m. New York time. There's going to be a press conference as well. Jay Powell, he's also going to go through their forecasts. So it's going to be an important one. I don't expect them to raise rates. Financing Wall Street, the military industrial complex, all the wars and all the, how can I say, all the destabilization around the world that's not done only by the U.S., also by its NATO allies. How can we try to avoid financing these people? Of course, on a day-to-day basis, we still need to use fiat currencies to function. But what I mean is, if you are able to have some savings, and I know the great majority of people have a hard time these days accumulating any savings. And what is savings? Well, savings is basically your earnings and then minus what you have to consume. And if you have something left over of those earnings at the end of the month, and you're able to put some aside, that's saving for a rainy day. Yes, I'm not saying you have to get out completely of the system not to finance it, because you need to operate in the system. I personally still have some fiat currency, of course, in the bank that I need to pay bills, direct debits they call it here in the UK. But if I'm able to how can I say, have some spare fiat money or income, if you want to call it, yeah, I'll try to keep it away from the bankers and the military industrial complex as much as possible. You need to understand that the bankers and the military industrial complex and the corporations and the big governments, they're in bed together. I guess I would say the governments are run by the big banks and the big corporations. So it's all one. I'd like to say as well that the central bank is not independent anywhere in the world. It's a big fallacy, especially in the fiat money world, as central banks increase their balance sheets of more and more government debt. You know, how can they be independent if they're like helping finance governments? So that's a fallacy as well. The only way central banks might be independent, and I'm not saying that we need to reform central banks and make them independent. I think we should have no central banks, is for them to hold precious metals, or even when the Fed started in 1914, they're holding commercial paper, a private enterprise paper, not government paper, you see. But anyway, I wanted to show you this chart to show you how much you're financing by keeping your savings, let's say, in paper money, Federal Reserve notes, by buying treasuries, by buying bonds or gilts, anywhere you might be in the world, by buying government bonds. This is what you're financing here. You know, government debt, and the ability of this military industrial complex, deep state, intelligence, mafiocracy, as John Titus says, of operating. Because as you can see here, this is from an interesting chart, or from 1790 to 2015. I mean, right now it's about 105% US government debt to GDP. But you can see there that after the Revolutionary War, the debt was quite high, but then it was paid off. And by the time Andrew Jackson was president, and he did not renew the charter of the Second Bank of the United States, the United States actually paid off all its national debt. And unfortunately, then you had the Civil War, and that debt went up again, and then it was going down again, and then you had World War One. It went down, and then it went up again before World War Two. There, that was FDR and the New Deal, big government, and then big war, World War Two, and then it came down all the way to 1980, actually, debt to GDP. So it was a good period. But I think the powers that be realized that they couldn't have a fiat money system functioning, that they'd have to go back to sound money unless they were able to increase the debt. And they were successful in doing that through the petrodollar, through manipulation of the markets. Granted, Paul Volcker did raise rates, did let rates go up to 20% at the time. So he kind of killed off the inflationary environment. But you can see here, we are in wartime, in a wartime scenario, even though we're not fighting a major war like the Revolutionary War, like the Civil War, like World War One or World War Two. We are fighting a war. This is a war that the public is fighting here. And who are we waging it against? Well, we are waging it against the military-industrial complex, you see. They are, and the bankers and the fiat money system. Those are our enemies, really. And it's no wonder that inequality has grown so much. And I'm not a socialist by any stretch of the imagination. But I think the numbers are getting worse and worse in terms of, inequality. It's just getting more and more, the only people who seem to be benefiting right now are the people close to the military industrial complex, the Wall Street industrial complex, the Wall Street paper asset complex. And so what are the main symptoms of that? Well, it's the stock market bubble, the bond bubble, all the military interference abroad, not only by the United States, but also by its NATO allies. As Catherine Austin Fitts says, if you want to keep financing this, you keep buying treasuries, you keep buying stocks of these big corporations. I was disappointed yesterday watching golf. Some of you might know that I like golf. I've played golf almost all my life. And I saw that the top golfers have a lot of sponsorships by from Wall Street. And that's a shame, real shame to see top golfers wearing caps with the names of banks like Morgan Stanley and Citi. Well, maybe they haven't done the homework, these are professional golfers. Maybe they're too young to realize that they're actually helping finance these people. But I guess they're getting sponsorship, you see. So the best way to, in my opinion, there's like a few things you can do. First of all, get out of debt. Try to live within your means, because if you borrow, you're financing these guys. If you're able to have some savings, put it in precious metals, gold and silver. Put it in cryptocurrencies. Cryptocurrencies are outside the system. Put it in, buy some land, or if you live in the countryside, buy a little farm, or buy tangible goods, things that will last a long time and that hold their value. You need to do your homework yourself. Of course, gold and silver are very liquid and marketable, even in times of crisis and credit collapse. Gold and silver are accepted. Many people say, oh, you can't eat gold and silver. Of course you can't eat gold and silver, but you can exchange it for other things. Antiques and other things hold their value through time, but sometimes in periods of a credit crunch, it's very hard to sell those things. It's easier to sell them in a bubble, so to speak. Some of you might say it's not going to make any difference. They control everything. Yes, I know it looks that way, but it doesn't mean that you as an individual or your family cannot and should not protect yourself by trying to avoid financing these people as much as possible. So that's, and also try to avoid all the division, all the divide and conquer. I don't have to tell you all the distractions out there. I think most of you know what's going on out there, but the big, all those distractions are just to keep the spotlight away from this, the big debt bubble we have. The military industrial complex, City of London, Wall Street control. That's what it's all about. They want to keep you divided so that they can keep ruling over you. Don't fall for that. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. If you enjoyed this video and you think others would as well, share it far and wide. You can also follow me on Twitter, Steemit, and on DTube. I wish you all a great day. Take care. Bye.